Yeah, boy. Let's
Ooh,
go.
get in. So we're obviously very excited because Pakistan have just beaten Sri Lanka in
This
like a
ain't the Asia
miraculous
Cup.
fashion. This
This
is
ain't the
Asia
Asia
Cup. This is
Cup.
the World Cup. It's 8-0 to Pakistan. This is going to be a chaotic episode because we're in a chaotic mood. We're feeling good about ourselves. Pakistan have just beaten Sri Lanka in a comprehensive fashion in the second innings, chasing down 346, which is the highest chase to be recorded in World Cup history. And yes, you heard that right. Pakistan has the highest chase in World Cup history. Kya feelings there, man?
Man, there was points towards that during that game where I actually couldn't believe what was going on. Like I remember just thinking that like since I've started watching World Cup cricket, which was in 2007, I've witnessed four Pakistani centuries, and two of them were in matches where we were already out of the World Cup, so they didn't matter. And then there
Yeah,
was Babar and Sarfaraz, and now we get these two out of nowhere, cementing one of the greatest wins in our World Cup history at the very least.
it's also quite ironic that one of those centuries that didn't matter was Imam ul Haq, right?
I didn't want to say his name,
I know you didn't, but I said it for you.
man.
I just
Imam's
got
getting
that in
bullied
there.
today. Well, yes, one of those centuries was definitely Imam
But
ul Haq.
just going back to what you said, like it was a completely alien feeling, like watching such a cool, composed chase from the gems that are Abdullah Shafiq and Mohammad Rizwan. Like I think towards the last 10, I honestly like I didn't know what to do with myself. Like, was I comfortable because like the scorecard looked like we'd get this pretty easily, but then it's Pakistan and you don't know what to expect. And then honestly, I'm not even gonna lie, when South got out, I almost like felt better about myself. I was like, okay, this is like what I know. Like this is the Pakistan team we know and love. Like it's not gonna happen easy, but we'll get over the line. And then if the Chachu comes and like एक दो edges like जाते हैं, Lilac was on his side and he just like gets us over the line. But mashallah, bro, like what a
Mashallah, bro. Alhamdulillah,
outstanding
what a
performance.
amazing performance, man. And there's so many really, really good things about this one. You know what? Let's start off by talking with about Abdullah Shafiq. So Abdullah Shafiq has been okay. Hugs, we as like a calm, we love to hate on Misbah Haq, and I certainly wasn't the hugest fan of him as a coach. But both of the architects of today's victory were Misbah Haq finds. Obviously, he threw Sarfraz out of the team to get Rizwan in, and then Abdullah Shafiq went on a world tour without playing any games for a couple of years before he became a proper starter. And Abdullah Shafiq is, I mean, I feel like we haven't really gotten to his story so much because he hasn't been playing so far. But whatever Shubman Gill is to India or what he's proven to be in one days, Abdullah Shafiq has been that in Test cricket for us. And depending on which side of the border you are, I tend to say Shubman Gill is the Abdullah Shafiq of ODI cricket. But to see him now come in, and we've always known he's had the temperament. Like we didn't have him starting, but that's not because we ever doubted his talent. Like he has amazing innings in Test cricket, chasing in the fourth innings against Sri Lanka, saving a match against Australia again on this tour of Sri Lanka. But now to see him in the one day game is incredible. And the only thing we had even a little bit of question marks on was his ability to pace the innings. But everywhere this
Bro,
guy's played, whether it's been PSL or now in a World Cup debut, like he is an absolute prodigy. And he's the future of Pakistan batting. Inshallah, you could definitely see that.
absolutely, it's top class. Like you can see his technique, you can see his temperament. We've seen that in Test cricket. We've seen the way he can explode in the PSL as well. So like he has all facets to his game. And then like what you said about like us wanting him in the squad, but we're not convinced about him in the 11 was just because he didn't have enough games under his belt. And to be fair, like he still doesn't. That remains true. And the fact that despite not having those games, like despite traveling with the squad but not getting many opportunities, the fact that he's able to come in at this stage, because this is as big a stage as you can get for like an opening batsman. It's a World Cup. It's a chase of 350 plus. Like Pakistan has never chased anything above 265 in one days, and you're losing Imam ul Haq and Babar Azam early. Like that's as big as it gets, and as much of a pressure situation as you can find in this tournament. And the fact that he came through it with flying colors, like not taking any unnecessary risks, playing his natural shots, just showed absolute faith and belief in his own ability. And that's not something like you're used to seeing from Pakistani batsmen. Like, you see the talent, you see that they have the shots oftentimes when they come in, but they don't have that temperament and that calmness under pressure to be able to choose the right decisions at the right time. And he absolutely executed all of that perfectly. Like, nothing, no mistakes were made from him today.
And just to add to that, like he's come through like the Sialkot system of cricket, which if you look at all of the guys who've come out of Sialkot in Pakistan's history, you think of guys like Zahir Abbas, there's Ijaz Ahmed who was there, Shoaib Malik, Haris Sohail, and now you have a guy like Abdullah Shafiq. All of these guys, um, Sealco tends to produce really refined batters as well. Like it's one of the underrated little guards of like batting for Pakistan. And to see another product make it to the stage, and he has all of those things about a lot of those players, like the way he plays spin, the way he uses feet, silky smooth touch. He is the real deal, and he's. I mean, there's a joke amongst us Pakistani fans that he's earned like a spot for the next 5 years in the team now, just
Yeah.
based on this one performance. But it was really awesome to see him get going, and if Rizwan won us that game, I think Abdullah Shafiq was the one who changed that game initially. And the way he paced his innings, like he doesn't look like he was playing his first one day game, or sorry, his
Absolutely.
first World Cup game.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think early on, like we saw Rizwan struggle a little bit. Like he wasn't up to the pace of the wickets, and he wasn't getting the ball out of the middle of the bat. He wasn't getting those boundaries that you usually see from Rizwan early on. And so Abdullah really had to, take center stage there. And he, every time it looked like there was a little bit of pressure starting to build on Rizwan, Abdullah would get the boundary and release all of that. So I think his knock was possibly more important in terms of the initial phases. Of course, like Rizwan took us over the line ultimately, and he's become Mr. Dependable in this batting lineup since his promotion to number 4. But yeah, just mad respect to Abdullah, and really excited to see what he continues to do in this World Cup, because now he has the platform to build on. And we were talking a lot about like Fakhr, Imam, Abdullah, 3 openers.
Abdullah's
Um,
number one on the totem pole there
if
now.
exactly if Fakhr's to come back into the side, it's going to be Imam ul Haq looking over his
Yeah,
shoulder. So
yeah,
it's amazing.
absolutely. Abdullah has done. I mean, he's played a historic innings for Pakistan, and you're really. I mean, it's a really proud moment for us. Somebody like we've been following his career since he was, I mean, more or less a teenager, and again, like I was talking about a little bit before even having played more than one or two first class games, maybe a handful of T20 games, he was with the Pakistan tour. To see him grow and emerge, and really come up trumps on such a massive occasion, man. Um, and you could tell that he didn't have any of that former baggage with him of any type of pressure or failure. And I loved the way he played. I think when he walked out and hit that 6 over mid wicket to the spinner, I can't remember which one it was. I think that was like a real statement in the game, from which we thought that no, like we could do something, we could make some noise in this game. When did you start believing that we can win this game, bro?
Before I get into that, like I want to address the fact that Arman's not on camera. He claims that there's technical difficulties, but I think इसने थोड़ी ज़्यादा party कर ली है जीत के बाद.
Man, speaking of that, like shout out to Paul. I was watching this game with Paul, and I think Beams was there as well at certain points. Like speaking of partying, like we watched the entire game on Pakistani television, PTV obviously, and then जो ads मतलब बेहुदा बेहुदा किस्म के आते शायद मैं तुम्हें क्या समझाऊं. हम बीच में बैठ के strategy discuss कर रहे कि क्या करना चाहिए, ये होगा वो होगा, और फिर Fawad Khan comes up in these random tiffin commercials and he looks high as a kite in each and every single one of them.
Dude, I need to see
So
these, man.
this is what our day consisted of.
Yeah, sitting here in Toronto, watching on Willow, you don't get those. बेहुदा किस्म के ads जैसे अरमान ने describe किया. यहाँ पता नहीं रिमिटली चल रहा होता है, bro.
Admittedly is still okay, bro. ये पता नहीं फवाद भाई चाय पी रहा है टिफिन से, लेकिन उसकी आंखें ऐसे बड़ी बड़ी हुई हुई थी. मैंने बोला फवाद भाई आप क्या पी रहे हो यार? What is in your tea?
That's crazy. But as for like when I started to believe, honestly, like maybe around the 30th over, when Abdullah was closing in on his 100, and when like the run rate is starting to pick up a little bit, lag raha tha ki, this is the point where like the game will make or break, right? Either Pakistan will go for the risk and they'll lose a wicket, या फिर they'll execute those shots or boundaries आएंगी, which is exactly what happened. And I think Abdullah hit like 2 or 3 shots which were absolutely like crunched. I think that might
Yeah.
have been after he made his 100, to be honest. I might be misremembering
Yeah.
here. Like I think those 2 shots and the way he hit them, the ferocity with which those went for 4, I was like, हाँ, ये हमारा दिन लग रहा है.
Yeah. वही बात है. I think in any chase after Bob Razum gets out, there's like a phase where you're just like, man, screw this. Like you're just pissed for like a while. And
वो like मुझे
you're
बहुत
thinking
गुस्सा आ
about
गया था यार.
मुझे
मतलब
भी आ गया था
he's
यार.
freaking sliding down on a wide delivery, he edges it, trickles it to
Yeah.
Babar. I was like, Babar, come on, yeah.
And
We
then
don't need this
for a
from you
second
today.
there, like as a Pakistani fan, like you're like, that's the game. But you sit and you watch, and of course you're still
Yeah.
hopeful that they can do it. And then as the boundaries start to
Wait,
pile on,
but even like before, like sorry, you mentioned the boundaries. Like even before that, like when it was like 10 overs, 15 overs, and like the run rate was like 4.55. Like I was like, bro, अगर कोई और team batting कर रही होती यहाँ, so I'd be like कि ये chase is on. लेकिन पाकिस्तान है तो like obviously हम
वही
डरे हुए
बात
होते
है,
हैं.
वही बात है. And like if you break batting down, it's actually very simple. Like there's one phase of the game before you're set, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
phase of the game after you're set. And those are two extremely different phases. You're obviously the one being hunted when you come in, but if you play 50 or 60 balls, then you're bossing the game at that stage. And I remember after they got a couple of those boundaries, Rizwan had like a really nice straight drive, and then you dare to think like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like your partnership over there ke liye chali. And with this pitch, there were no apparent demons in it. Like they were doing a good job of milking the strike. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing of this partnership was the fact that it was very low risk cricket. Like all of the
Mm-hmm.
boundaries that came off, there weren't. I mean, initially, obviously, when they got in, but after that, like none of the boundaries you really felt like, man, isne galat shot killer and you got away with it. They're all really crisp, crisply timed and really well placed shots. And then obviously, like Richie Beno used to always say, like, and this is in the 80s and 90s, that whatever score you have in a 1 day game at 30 overs,
Yeah,
if you have wickets in
double.
hand, you should be able to double that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Especially
just
with
keep it.
2020, like because I was thinking at one stage of the game, I think when it was the 30th over mark, we needed like around 175 in 20 overs. And I was like, bro, 175 or 170, 20 overs, like Rizwan opens in T20 and Abdullah opens as well.
Exactly.
And they're well set, right? So like we have 8
It's a
wickets in
matter of one
hand,
of
like
them
we
just
should.
playing through
Exactly,
and then
exactly.
everybody else playing around them.
Like we've seen that template from us in T20, so you just apply that to here, and then you take it another level with the fact that the batsmen are well set, and that's exactly what they did. So yeah,
But
credit
that's
to
the
them.
thing, right? It's like if you look at this current Pakistan team, like it's kind of made its name on getting these types of chases done, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
only difference was we do these chases and we don't feel nervous about them when it's a bilateral. Only difference here is
Mm-hmm.
that it was a World Cup, and then like with none of the like old top three like Fakhar, Imam, Babar performing, then you're like, okay, where are these runs gonna come from? But man, like
Exactly.
Rizwan is really quality player, and I think people forget that like domestic cricket, he bats in the top four. Like at that stage, you're completely equipped to play the new ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the way Abdullah Shafiq counterattacked, it was incredible to see. And I think it's a really good thing going forward because they have that belief that one, we can replicate what we do in bilateral series in a World Cup. And
Mm-hmm.
two, we could do it even if Babar doesn't hit 100 or if Imam doesn't hit
Exactly.
100 or if Fakir doesn't go nuts, which was, I think, the biggest thing. And it was lovely to see how they paced the innings.
100%. And I think we spent a lot of time like waxing lyrical about Abdullah Shafiq, but we haven't mentioned like the hero of the story, Mohammad Rizwan. So before we get into, or I get your thoughts on him, which I know you have a lot to say because he's one of all of our favorite players as Pakistanis.
सबका
There's
favorite है
just
वो.
literally there was one sequence in the game that I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I think it epitomizes everything about Mohammad Rizwan. So let me take you through that sequence in the game. Patir Rana is bowling to Rizwan. It's the 36th over. Rizwan is batting on around 80, and Pakistan are on top. But like, it's Pakistan in a chase, so you're still not sitting easy, right? Patir Rana bowls a short delivery, and Rizwan, who like always embodies a hyper child, he tries to jump up and guide it over the keeper, but it's way out of reach. I kid you not. Like this ball is twice Rizwan's height. So while trying to manufacture the shot on that wide ball, Rizwan hurts his back. Now, for those of us who watch Rizwan like every game, we know this is something that happens like 3 to 4 times a game, so we aren't too worried yet. Rizwan rushes himself back to his feet and punches the next ball to point for a single, at which point he promptly collapses to the ground, clutching his back, and the physio is on. Now we're starting to get concerned But lo and behold, he's back up and he's ready for round two because that's the kind of beast that he is. Flash forward to the next over, Sri Lanka spotted that Riz is struggling, so they're trying to get through the part timers quickly, and like Dhananjaya De Silva is now on to bowl his off spin, but Rizwan, despite like physically struggling, is still completely switched on. So he recognizes what Sri Lanka are trying to do, and he's not going to let that slide. So he goes for the reverse sweep, but in doing so, he whacks the ball onto his own grill. Like we're all like, what the hell is going on here? But he soldiers on, and next ball, he comes down the track and pumps DDS over long off for six. But Arman, that's not the most amazing thing that happens here because the camera pans back to Rizwan, who in the follow through for the shot has gone down as if his legs have been taken out from him by a 2-footed challenge from Roy Keane himself. And this time it's a cramp, and it's a real bad cramp. And so good old Cliff Deacon, the physio, is back on again. And meanwhile, in the commentary box, Simon Dool is urging Rizwan to walk off because, like, but clearly Simon Dool has not seen this movie before. The rest of us have. And Mohammad Rizwan, who spent his whole career playing cameos in supporting roles, isn't going to let his side down just when he's become the main act. So he wills himself back to his feet and takes Pakistan over the line in miraculous fashion to record a historic win at Hyderabad, because that's just the champion that he is. And I wanted to just take you through Rizwan's own actions to describe what a champion he is, because I don't think my words would do justice to him.
That's beautifully said, man. And like you said, like in this movie, Muhammad Rizwan was the main character today. And I remember at that point, like obviously they were laughing, and Simon Dool's like, "Oh, get him off this that," and I'm like, "Man, like shut the hell up! Like I hope New Zealand
Bro,
lose
even
and the
I
Super
like
over again." Like that's all I was thinking.
bro, Hirdos or Macardis who actually like they told him off, bro. They're like, "Kya baatein
Haydos
kar
told
rahe
them
ho?"
off
Like,
properly, man.
yeah,
Haydos loves these boys. But
yeah,
I don't know who said it. Like, at one point got me laughing. They're like, he should be in a movie. I
yeah.
started, I
I think
completely
Simon Dool
lost.
said that.
I think Simon Dool said that. But
Yeah,
man, this guy is like, I remember, bro, you remember that Asia Cup match in like 2010 that they used to show on Geo Super where like Afridi hit 100, but he's like cramping up against Sri Lanka और
yeah,
वो बड़ी तरह
yeah.
को निकल के छक्का मार रहा है फिर गिर रहा है and then he's getting up and doing it और फिर गिर रहा है दोबारा like Rizwan actually he did what Afridi couldn't do and he won us this match out of nowhere as well.
But
So
the only other thing
that
I have to say on that is sometimes it's cramp, sometimes it's acting.
हाँ उसने बोला भी यार रमीज भाई कभी कभार क्रैम्प है कभी कभार एक्टिंग होती है
Bro, like that needs to be on a t-shirt, man. Like I want that t-shirt. Someone needs to get that done. That's going to be an iconic line in Pakistan history. Sometimes it's cramp, sometimes it's acting.
Sometimes it's acting. Man, Rizwan is too good, man. Rizwan is way too good.
I
And then
think
also, yeah,
no, I was gonna say like talking about Rizwan, talking about Abdullah Shafiq, like the way they handled Theekshana, like they absolutely neutralized him, like knowing the fact that they can target the other Sri Lankan bowlers, and they're like, okay, इस पे risk भी नहीं लेंगे, बिल्कुल भी नहीं लेंगे, आराम से singers like निकालते रहेंगे और निकालते रहे थे. And then eventually, when the bad ball comes, they like punish that for a boundary, and I think they got 5 wides of them themselves. So like Sri Lanka's indisciplined bowling coming to the fore again. We saw that in South Africa wala match tha yahan bhi. I think their pacers are still very inexperienced, and although like Madhushanka gave them a good start, like Pathirana phir bhi wide pe wide karaya ja raha hai, and like you feel for him at some point. Like this is only a 19-year-old kid, and I think Russell Arnold said it well. Ke maybe this is like a World Cup too soon for him, but because they have injuries, like they were forced to get him in.
yeah.
But yeah, I think they calculated that chase really well. They knew which bowlers to target, which ones to milk around for singles. And yeah, I mean, honestly, just super impressed by the way they got it done.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like the game awareness was absolutely on point. Like they knew, like as soon as DDS came on, you saw them. They're like, okay, this is our guy right here. Like we're
Mm.
going after him to a point where they're thinking about the attack after 2 overs. And they gave the due respect to Tikshana. You could see that they didn't really play too expansively against him. They picked their bowlers really, really well, which was again like that type of game awareness in a Pakistani chase. Like we still can't believe it.
No, 100%. एक और चीज जो लाइक मेरी काफी हट गई थी सुन के, इस मैच से पहले काफी लोग एक स्टैट शेयर कर रहे थे कि पाकिस्तान ने पावर प्ले में पूरे लाइक साल छक्का नहीं मारा था, और
हमें
मैं एक और
मानने की
पॉडकास्ट
जरूरत ही नहीं है.
वही मैं पॉडकास्ट सुन रहा था और they were all laughing कि हाँ like कुशल मेंडिस ने 8 छक्के मारे लास्ट मैच में पाकिस्तानी ओपनर्स ने तो पूरे साल में नहीं मारे and then Simon Dewar was also bringing that up, so like we don't
Yeah,
need to hit sixes
I
in the
mean,
power play.
Simon,
We play a different brand of cricket.
a
Like
different
yes,
brand of cricket,
every
exactly.
every team has different ways to play. Like again, it might be old fashioned, but again, it gets the job done here. Like we build slowly, we target the middle overs because we have the players to rotate against spin. Like we can hit spin well with the likes of Rizwan in there. And then we take the game deep. Like we were able to comfortably get 7 runs per over. And I get you could say that in a game against a better bowling lineup that'll be tested. But like let's see what happens when that happens, right? In this match here, we didn't need to hit those sixes. We were able to keep those wickets in hand and we got over the line. So yeah, like take that, Simon Dole.
And that was the best thing I think about the innings was like you saw for a while in the middle phases there, like as a fan, you're like just keep up with 8, and they were hitting a
Mhm.
boundary, and they were getting the other 4 to 5 runs off of singles. Whereas like some of the guys who played in our middle order in the past, they would have gone for the second and third hit in that same
Mhm.
over. But these guys literally they calculated it
And
amazingly.
exactly, and bro, you have to recognize your strengths and weaknesses as the team. Like someone like England might be able to go and bash from the first ball, and they might be able to hit multiple sixes um, for each batsman. But Pakistan, like that's not our game, right? We have to be aware of what our limitations are. We have to be aware of what our strengths are. And here we played risk-free cricket, and we got the result in the end of the day.
Even then, bro, like everybody is an expert when they have the result in front of them already. Like
Mhm.
when England plays that brand, then they're innovative and they're creative and they're brave. But when they lose, then they didn't play with the right game awareness, vice versa. You
Mhm.
know, when Pakistan wins a game like this, they calculated really well and they stuck to their guns. And if it doesn't work, then the whole domestic
We
system
left
needs a
it too,
revamp.
yeah. We
You
left it
know,
too late, put pressure on the lower order, all that. But it's so interesting, right? Like if you look at, we haven't talked about Sri Lanka's batting at all. Like Kusal Mendes and Sadira Vikrama, they like absolutely took the Pakistani bowlers to the cleaners. Like between the 20th and 30th overs, they scored 100 runs. So they played in a different way where they sort of like front loaded and they attacked from the off. But then at the back end, like the Pakistani bowlers brought it back. So each team has their own ways of playing.
yeah.
And I think massive shout out to the way we did pull things back because at one point, like I was really in the mood to like bilkul TV band kar दूं or like I don't even want to watch this match क्योंकि लग
Bro,
रहा
from
था
the
कि
25th over
450 बनेंगे.
onwards, exactly, from the 25th over onwards. And this is not in like our despair as Pakistani fans. Like it was literally that, like, bro, do the
Bro,
math. They
because
should end up at 400. And
mm,
even with 10 overs left, it looked like that. The fact that Pakistan, I think, conceded, I think they went under 6 and over for the last.
all in all, we conceded like around less than 120 of the last 20 overs, which is like insane
And
considering
that's the
the
thing.
start they had.
If Pakistan can just discipline up a little bit, like in the
Mm,
initial phase of the game, the first like power play and the the next 5 to 10 overs after that, like it's a really hard attack to hit because we saw this in the Asia Cup as well, like against India in the game that got rained out,
mm,
where even after that partnership they had, like once these guys get that fifth or sixth wicket, it's almost impossible to score against these guys at times with the
mm,
amount of pace and variation they
yeah,
have. And this is without too much. Like I don't really remember seeing too much movement or reverse from the
no,
pitch today. Like they're
there
just
wasn't
very
much.
extremely skillful bowlers.
It was all started by Hassan Ali, right? The supposed
Shout
weak
out to
link
Hassan
in
Ali,
this
man.
attack, and he's the one holding it together.
He was the
Um,
whole and man, I thought he was amazing. Like you're gonna look and you're gonna be like, 70
3 for 71.
runs. But I don't care about the 70 runs because if he doesn't get those 4 wickets, everybody else is going at sevens as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was awesome with the new ball. He came back in between in the way they used to bring Hassan Ali back, like in the middle overs to break a
Mm-hmm.
partnership. And Kushal Mendes got after him like on the very first ball. I think he pulled him for a 4 or 6. And then in that next over, he hit 2 sixes, and Hassan Ali is extremely brave there. He took a chance with the cutter again,
Mm-hmm.
which Kushal Mendes absolutely launched. And for all the things Imam Ul Haq did wrong today, he took a really, really, really good
That was a
catch.
really good catch.
To
Yeah,
be
for
fair to
sure.
him, even after that, like I think the way he bowled at Sri Lanka coming in, the way he bowled throughout the innings, and even Ralph who was going it, like as well as how Ralph looked like he bowled, like I think Mendes got to him as well, in his
I
fourth and
think
fifth
even
over, and
not just Mendes, even Sadira, like he hit him for those 2 sixes on the pull. And I thought Harris was
Sadira
actually
as well.
bowling pretty well. His pace was
Yeah,
up, unlike Shaheen. and like he
Yeah.
was bowling the right length. It's just that I feel like some of the short balls that he bowled maybe weren't as like menacing as you would want from him, which again like is something he can improve. And so I'm not too worried about him because I think he's getting it all right. It's just like a matter of the
No,
luck at the end of the day,
look
right?
at that's what I'm saying. Like if you look at him after his first 5 overs, he was going at nines.
Mhm.
He conceded 45 runs in his first five. In his last five, he went for 19 with 2 wickets at the death. So it's not necessarily about all 10 overs. Like there are different phases as well.
Mhm.
We're both coming back stronger. And I think the way Haris Rauf composed himself was like a massive catalyst into really restricting Sri Lanka. Obviously, when you concede 345 at the break, you're still going to be like, man, what the hell? But it could have been a lot worse, man. And it probably should have been a lot worse.
No, 100%. I think you mentioned like the start not being great, and I was very concerned by Shaheen. Like his pace was down. He was bowling like 120, high 120s, low 130s in the first spell. I looked a little bit wayward, like wo wide to ho jati hai Shaheen se usually,
Hmm.
but that's when he's trying to get that swing, and there wasn't any swing on offer. So usually he's pretty sharp about pulling his length back, and yeah, he didn't really get that today. To be fair, like he had that chance that was dropped from Imam at backward point, which like at that point I was just like pissed, shaking my head. Like, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why Imam was at backward point. Like that's the specialist position for Shadab, first of all. So I don't know why they changed it.
That's the problem, bro. Imam has been there for like the better part of 2 years, and every time I see him there, I'm like, bro, like, tum say अच्छे fielder हो गए, like,
Mhm.
why? Like, Shadab should be there, and today
Mhm.
it came back to bite us at that point.
Coming back to Shaheen, like any worries there?
No, bro, I don't tend to panic with guys like Shining too quickly. I heard Shoaib
Mhm.
Malik on A Sports say something about like how he has some information. I don't know how true this is, but he had information that he had a little bit of a cut on his bowling fingers that he's been nursing for a while. So obviously, sometimes with that, um, that takes some of the pace off Wasim Akram was talking
Mhm.
about. Like it's like a little bit of an irritance to bowl with. And we saw the same thing from Shaheen in the T20 World Cup last year, where he didn't really look like himself. But sometimes you just need to get those overs in under your legs. And a guy like
Mhm.
Shaheen, like who's to say that he won't have 10 wickets in the next 2 games or something
Yeah,
like that? Like all of these things are very
absolutely.
possible.
And it's a long tournament also. We'll go into all of that when we like preview the India game. So for now, anything else to add on this game?
No, man, I'm happy. Certain things are coming into place. Never, ever will you see all 11 players be in prime
Mhm.
form. Like that's just not the type of sport cricket is. You're gonna
Mhm.
have at times 5 guys out of form, 6 guys out of form. So for us, hopefully, like the guys who are really out of form seem to be coming back into it. You plugged Fakhr in, excuse me, Abdullah in for Fakhr, which has been
And
and
dude,
then
mad
yeah.
respect so far. Like they got Saud Shakil for the first game, that paid off. They got Abdullah Shafiq in here, so like the calls that they're making, we give them like a lot of grief when things don't work out, but like
So
when
we
it's
gotta give him
working,
that
like
credit.
gotta give them the credit as well. So we'll wrap it up there. Like a magnificent victory for Pakistan, like amazing. I think more importantly, the fact that we're
Let's
taking
go.
two wins from two going into that India game is huge because it sort of gives us the flexibility to take that as a free hit. And I hope Pakistan approach it that way, like just go hard at India, take the game to them. We've gotten a good start, so let's like make the most of that. And you know the pressure's on them. They're playing at home. The 130,000 are going to be their fans, not ours. So let's see what we can do. But we'll get into that game a little bit more. Before we finish up, a little bit of a plug from us. We are on Twitter at Not That Important Podcast. So we will be live tweeting our opinions during games when the timings allow. And more importantly, I think one of my favorite things about Pakistan cricket is like the memes, Pakistan cricket fandom. Like, just I don't think anyone else does it better than us. So again, it's a good forum for us to be able to participate in that and get engaging with the cricket community. So follow us on there if you are on Twitter. Let's get out of here.